The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Anjana Dudamgoda and read by Rumesh Piris. The headlines. The President discusses renewable energy and agriculture development with Western Australia Premier. The head of state meets Sri Lanka diaspora community in Australia. The Cabinet approves import of 15,000 tons of cashew nuts to address shortage. 232 vendors to be charged for selling bread below standard weight. New SLBC applications to be called for tomorrow. The Minister of Agriculture sets minimum prices for Maha-season paddy procurement. In foreign news, with over half the seats counted, Imran Khan leads in Pakistan polls. And in sports, Afghanistan wins the toss and puts Sri Lanka to bat first. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe arrived at Perth International Airport last afternoon to attend the 7th Indian Ocean Conference in Perth, Australia. At the invitation of the India Foundation and the Australian government, President Wickremesinghe is currently engaged in an official visit to Australia to attend the 7th Indian Ocean Conference taking place on the 9th and 10th of February. President Wickremesinghe is slated to deliver the keynote address at the conference this morning, focusing on the theme towards a stable and sustainable Indian Ocean. Furthermore, Premier Roger Cook of Western Australia met with President Wickremesinghe today as part of the President's official itinerary in Perth for the Indian Ocean Conference. The Cabinet of Ministers approved importing a maximum of 15,000 tons of cashew nuts in the shell this year as the local production capacity falls short to 12,500 tons, leading to an urgent need for intervention. The annual demand is 25,000 tons of cashew nuts, but the cashew industry in the country is facing a dire situation as the crop has not been harvested as expected in the last season. Additionally, a committee comprising senior officials from relevant ministries will determine the quantity to be imported from December to April over the next 4 years, bridging the gap during the off-season when local cashew harvests are unavailable. The proposal presented by the Agriculture and Plantation Minister received approval at the Cabinet of Ministers meeting earlier this week. Calling new applications for the SLBC Welfare Benefits Program is scheduled to commence tomorrow to select 400,000 more beneficiaries. The Finance State Ministry said certain criteria for the selection of beneficiaries would be revised based on the suggestions made by various parties. Meanwhile, the monthly allowances paid to disabled persons, kidney patients and elderly citizens are to be retrospectively increased from January 2024. Accordingly, kidney patients and disabled persons' allowances will be raised from 5,000 to 7,500 rupees, while the elderly citizens' allowance will be increased from 2,000 to 3,000 rupees. State Minister Shan Semasinghe revealed that SLBC beneficiaries who are entitled to these allowances are to be identified within the first quarter of 2024 and to initiate increased payments commencing from the 1st of April. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Your next generation digital banking partner, People's Bank.
Continuing with more local news. The Consumer Affairs Authority has decided to press charges against a total of 232 bakery and shop owners who sold loaves of bread with below par weight and failed to display the prices. On the 2nd of February, the CAA published an extraordinary gazette stipulating a standard weight for a loaf of bread. Accordingly, the standard weight of a loaf of bread was set at 450 grams with an allowance deficiency of 13.5 grams, while a standard weight of 225 grams with a 9 grams deficiency was stipulated for a half a loaf of bread. The Gazette noted that any type of bread manufactured, packed, stored, displayed for sale or sold retail or wholesale should contain the standard weight specified in the Gazette Extraordinary. Further, all traders have been ordered to display the weight of bread displayed for sale. After the Gazette was published, the CAA launched island-wide raids in search of the vendors who failed to comply with the Gazette notification. The Ministry of Agriculture has unveiled the minimum prices for paddy to be purchased from farmers during the upcoming Maha season, aiming to support agricultural livelihoods and ensure fair compensation for growers. As the announcement, the minimum prices per kilogram of paddy vary based on rice varieties and moisture content. For paddy with a moisture content of 14%, farmers can expect to receive 105 rupees per kilogram for Nadu rice, 120 rupees for Samba rice, and 130 rupees for Kiri Samba rice. To facilitate the procurement process and support rice mill owners, paddy stockists and collectors, the government has pledged significant financial assistance. Small and medium-scale rice mill owners will have access to a maximum loan of 50 million rupees, while paddy stockists and collectors can avail loans up to 25 million rupees through public and private banks. And that concludes local news.
Enjoy seamless shopping. Open LCs, settle bills and transfer funds instantly, anywhere and anytime. With People's Bank Digital Solutions, you're empowered to do more, whenever and wherever you want. Unlock a world of modern banking conveniences with People's Bank, your next generation digital banking partner. People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. President Ranil Wickremesinghe convened with members of Sri Lanka's diaspora community in Perth, Australia this morning. According to the President's media division, during the meeting the President provided an update on the nation's recovery efforts and discussed strategies for modernizing the economy. Throughout the discussions, the diaspora voiced their eagerness to assist the government in advancing economic development across various sectors such as the climate change and tourism. Additionally, the President's Chief of Staff Sagara Ratnayaka detailed plans for establishing the Office of Overseas Sri Lankans. He emphasized that this initiative would provide an avenue for the diaspora to engage constructively with the government. In response to various inquiries, the President affirmed the government's dedication to executing long-standing policies. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board says the water supply for parts of Colombo will be suspended tomorrow for a period of 15 hours. Water cut will be in place from 5 p.m. tomorrow until 8 a.m. on Sunday. According to the NWSDB, Colombo 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15 areas are affected by the water cut, which is being imposed due to essential maintenance work planned under the Ambatale Water Supply System Improvements and Energy Saving Project. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
And in World News, first the headlines. With over half the seats counted, Imran Khan leads in Pakistan polls. At least 5 killed in protest over mosque demolition in North Indian town. US says it will not back unplanned Rafah offensive. Now the world news in detail. Supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan has the edge on Friday in Pakistan's election results from over 100 seats, local media said, after vote counts were hit by unusual delays that the government ascribed to a suspension of mobile phone services. Pakistan news agency said independents, who mostly owe allegiance to Khan, had won 47 of 106 seats for which it had results. A total of 265 seats were contested in Thursday's election. The Election Commission of Pakistan had announced 70 official results, with independents getting 24. The Pakistan People's Party of Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the son of assassinated Premier Benazir Bhutto, also got 24, while former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz won 18. At least 5 people have been killed and dozens injured during a protest sparked by the demolition of a mosque and a religious school in India, the latest in a spate of demolitions targeting Muslim structures. Municipal authorities in Hardwani town in the northern state of Uttarakhand bulldozed the buildings yesterday, saying that they had been built without permission. Police said Muslims torched vehicles and threw stones at them in the protest that followed, prompting them to fire live ammunition and tear gas in response. Some 1.5 million Palestinians are surviving in a city bordering Egypt in dire humanitarian conditions. The White House said it would not support major operations without due consideration for the refugees there. The comments comes days after Israel's leader said the military had been told to prepare to operate in Rafah. Speaking on Thursday evening, and without referring to Rafah, US President Joe Biden said Israel's actions in Gaza had been over the top. Reported Israeli airstrikes on Gaza on Friday killed at least 15 people, including 8 in Rafah, officials from the Hamas-run health ministry said. Israel did not immediately comment. Back to the headlines of the world news. With over half the seats counted, Imran Khan leads in Pakistan polls. At least 5 killed in protest over mosque demolition in North Indian town. And US says it will not back unplanned Rafah offensive. And that concludes world news. Moving on to development news. The proposal submitted by the Indian government through the Indian Oil Corporation Limited for the multimodal petroleum pipeline connecting India's Nagapattinam and Sri Lanka's Trincomalee oil tank farm and Colombo has been taken up for discussion. In a post on X, Minister of Power and Energy Kanjan Wijesekara said a discussion was held with the Indian oil company recently on the sidelines of the India Energy Week. The meeting was joined by the chairpersons of Indian Oil Corporation, Lanka IOC, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Petroleum Development Authority of Sri Lanka. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
In sports news, it's cricket. Afghanistan won the toss and opted to bowl in the first ODI against Sri Lanka, played at the Pallekele International Cricket Stadium this afternoon. The one-off test between Sri Lanka and Afghanistan saw the hosts coast home along expected lines. But the fight that Afghanistan showed with the bat in their second essay was a fair reflection of just how far this team has developed over the years. Short while ago, Sri Lanka had coasted to 341 for the loss of 2 wickets in 46.5 overs. Star batsman Pathum Nissanka is unbeaten at 185 and Sadira Samaravikrama is on 44. And that was sports news.
Go ekatiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hira habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And in business news, with a legacy of academic excellence and a reputation for producing industry-ready graduates, SLET, as a pioneer in higher education, has commenced new admissions for its main intake 2024, offering diverse higher education pathways and gateway to a successful future. SLET degrees are versatile with specializations aligned to critical disciplines including computing, business, engineering, humanities and sciences, architecture, etc. Offering unparalleled diversity designed to build expertise valued by modern industries. Information on application on admissions for the SLET 2024 January intake may be obtained via info@slit.lk or the phone number 011 754 4801. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekatiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hira habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, Despite the surge of Indian tourists to Sri Lanka in 2024, SLTDA anticipates that northern tourism will see a major positive impact with the resumption of a ferry service from the 25th of February. Moreover, the Indians typically travel for trade, and along with what they'll spend time touring the country, the ferry service will have a capacity of 150 passengers, with charges per passenger will begin from $50 for one-way trip and are allowed to carry 100 kilograms. And that was Economic News.
Weather Report.
Finally, moving on to the weather report. Mainly fair weather will prevail over the island. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabaragamu and western provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts during the morning. And that was the weather report. And back to the headlines of the news. The President discusses renewable energy and agriculture development with Western Australia Premier. The head of state meets Sri Lanka diaspora community in Australia. Cabinet approves import of 15,000 tons of cashew nuts to address shortage. 232 vendors to be charged for selling bread below standard weight. New Aswasuma applications to be called for tomorrow. The Minister of Agriculture sets minimum prices for Maha season paddy procurement. In foreign news, with over half the seats counted, Imran Khan leads in Pakistan polls. In sports, Afghanistan wins toss, puts Sri Lanka to bat first. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Back to your Friday evening's hostess, Saudi Tham, to keep you entertained till end of transmission. Over to you, Saudi.